Hey friend, how's your day going? I hope you're feeling good and carving out a little time for yourself. Before we jump into this story, I've got one questionnaire. You ready to hang in there and hear it all the way through? Trust me, it might seem like a simple tale at first, but there's a lot simmering under the surface. Let's dive in. Hey, listener, you settled in. Good, because this story's about to take you on a ride through logic, emotions, and a party that went off the rails. I'm Ben, 39, an engineer from Columbus, Ohio, with a brain wired for details and numbers. My wife, Rachel, 38, is my opposite in the best way. She's all heart, always tuned into people's feelings. We've been married 12 years, balancing my spreadsheets with her empathy. Our friends, Tina and Mark, are expecting their third kid, and we were headed to their gender reveal party, a big deal for them, especially Tina. What started as a simple car ride chat about the baby's gender turned into something way bigger. Stick with me, it's not what you expect. Tina and Mark have been in our circle forever. They've got the boys rowdy, awesome kids, 6 and 4, and Tina's been open about wanting a girl this time. Rachel, who's close with her, would come home from coffee dates saying, Tina's dreaming of pink dresses and tea parties. She's got her heart set on a daughter. I'd nod, happy for them, but I didn't get why it was such a big deal. A kid's a kid, right? Healthy's what matters. But Rachel would give me that look, like I was missing the point, and I'd let it go. The gender reveal was set for a Saturday at their place, a big backyard bash with balloons, cupcakes, and a gent box that'd spill pink or blue confetti. On the drive over, a 45-minute trip through Ohio's flat suburbs, Rachel was buzzing. She'd helped Tina plan the party, picking out decorations and keeping the secret gender under wraps. As we cruised along, she turned to me, her eyes bright. So, Ben, what do you think it's gonna be? Boy or girl? Her voice had that hopeful lilt, like she was already picturing Tina's dream coming true. I shrug, my hands on the wheel. Statistically, it's about a 51% chance of a boy. Slightly more boys are born than girls, you know. Doesn't matter that they've got to already a kid's a fresh roll of the dice. I said it like I was explaining a math problem, because to me, it was. Numbers don't lie. Rachel frowned, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Come on, Ben, don't be so clinical. Tina's got 2 boys. Don't you think the universe might balance it out with a girl? She really wants this. I glanced at her, keeping my tone light. That's not how it works, Ratch. Each birth is independent, like flipping a coin. Having 2 boys doesn't make a girl more likely. It's still roughly 50 to 50. Maybe a hair toward boy. It's just probability. She rolled her eyes, but there was a smile there too. You and your numbers. I'm telling you, I've got a feeling it's a girl. Tina deserves it. I chuckled, thinking that was the end of it. Rachel's always been the dreamer to my realist, and we usually meet in the middle. I figured we'd get to the party, pop the confetti, and move on. What I didn't know was how much that little car ride debate would matter later. Rachel wasn't just tossing out a guess, was invested, not just in Tina's hopes, but in the idea that life could bend toward what someone needed. Me, I was sticking to facts, unaware that my logic was about to clash with something deeper. The gender reveal was supposed to be a fun afternoon, but it was about to crack open feelings and tensions none of us saw coming. We pulled into Tina and Mark's driveway, the yard already packed with friends, kids running wild, and a table loaded with pink and blue snacks. Tina was glowing, her hands on her belly, while Mark manned the grill, his usual chill self. Rachel hugged Tina, whispering something that made them both laugh. I grabbed a beer, nodded at Mark, and settled in, thinking it'd be a standard party. But that question, boy or girl, was still floating between me and Rachel, and it was about to take on a life of its own. Listener, this is just the setup. A simple guess about a baby's gender doesn't sound like much, but trust me, it's about to spiral into something that tests friendships, marriages, and how we handle the gap between head and heart. Stay with me, you'll want to see how this unfolds. The gender reveal party was in full swing by the time Ben and Rachel arrived at Tina and Mark's backyard. The place was a sea of pink and blue balloons bobbing, cupcakes frosted in both colors, and a gent box in the center of the lawn, ready to spill the big secret. Kids darted around, adults sipped drinks, and music pumped from a Bluetooth speaker. Tina, glowing in a flowy dress, greeted everyone with hugs, her excitement contagious. Mark flipped burgers, cracking jokes, while Rachel buzzed around, helping with last-minute setup. Ben grabbed a seat near the grill, content to watch the chaos unfold, thinking this was just another fun Saturday. But the air was charged with anticipation, and that car ride chat about boy or girl was about to come back in a way he didn't expect. As the sun dipped lower, Tina and Mark gathered everyone around the box. Tina's smile was wide but nervous, her hands resting on her belly. Rachel stood close, squeezing her friend's arm, her own eyes bright with hope. Ben leaned against a tree, sipping his beer, curious but detached. He meant what he said in the car. Statistically, it was slightly more likely to be a boy, but he didn't care either way. Tina's two boys were awesome, a third would be just as great. A girl, sure, that'd be cool too. To him, it was all the same coin flip. Mark counted down 3, 2, 1. And they pulled the box open. Blue confetti exploded into the sky, sparkling in the evening light. The crowd erupted in cheers, clapping and whooping. Another boy, someone shouted. Mark pumped his fist, grinning ear to ear. Tina laughed, hugging him, but Ben caught a flicker in her expression, a tightness in her smile, a quick glance down. Rachel, standing beside her, noticed it too. Her face fell, just for a second, before she joined the applause, wrapping Tina in a big hug. To everyone else, it was a moment of joy, but Ben saw the shadow in Tina's eyes, the one that said her heart had been set on pink. The party rolled on, kids chased each other, adults toasted to the new baby boy, but the energy shifted subtly. Tina kept up her hostess act, thanking guests and posing for photos, but her laughter didn't reach her eyes. Rachel stuck close, whispering to her, their heads bent together. Ben stayed out of it, chatting with Mark about baseball, figuring Tina just needed a minute to process. He'd seen Rachel get like this too, feeling things deeply, especially for her friends. He thought it had passed by the time they cut the cake. The drive home, though, was a different story. Rachel stared out the passenger window, her arms crossed, the silence thick enough to choke on. Ben waited, sensing the storm but not sure what triggered it. Finally, halfway home, she snapped, "You could have been more supportive back there. Ben, why did you have to make it all about math?" Her voice was sharp, laced with hurt that caught him off guard. Ben frowned, glancing at her. "What are you talking about? Supportive how? It's not like I was rooting against Tina." Rachel turned, her eyes flashing. "In the car, when I asked what you thought, you went on about statistics, like it was some equation. Tina wanted a girl so bad, and I was hoping you'd at least try to get that, not just spit out numbers like it's a report." Ben's grip tightened on the wheel, his own frustration bubbling. "You asked for my opinion, Rach. I didn't say I wanted it to be a boy, just said what's likely. It's not my fault it turned out that way." "That's not the point." Rachel's voice rose, cracking. "It's not about you being right or wrong. It's about caring." Tina was crushed, Ben. You saw her face, and you didn't even try to connect with how she felt. You just stood there at the party, sipping your beer, like it was no big deal. Ben opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't get it. He'd answered her question honestly, hadn't gloated or rubbed it in. What did she want from him? To fake a guess he didn't believe, to cry over confetti. "I don't know what you expected," he said, his tone sharper than he meant. "I'm not gonna pretend I'm all emotional about something I can't control. Tina's fine. Mark's fine. They'll have a great kid. Why's this on me?" Rachel shook her head, turning back to the window. "It's not about the kid. It's about you not getting it." The rest of the drive was dead quiet, the kind of silence that feels like a third passenger. Ben's mind raced. Had he missed something? Was Rachel mad at him? Or at the blue confetti? Or both? All he'd done was tell the truth, but somehow, that truth had landed him in the doghouse. Back home, Rachel went straight to bed, barely speaking. Ben sat on the couch, replaying the day, wondering where he went wrong. His logic had been sound, his answer honest, but Rachel's hurt was real, and that gnawed at him. Was he supposed to feel something he didn't? Or was there a bigger gap between the moan he hadn't seen until now? Listener, the confetti's settled, but the tension's just getting started. Ben's about to learn that logic doesn't always win, especially when emotions are on the line. Stay with Methus, one's got more twists to come. The silence from the car ride home clung to Ben like damp clothes. Rachel went to bed without a word, leaving him alone in their Columbus living room, the hum of the fridge the only sound. He sank onto the couch, replaying the day, gender reveal, the blue confetti, Tina's tight smile, Rachel's anger. Ben prided himself on being logical, on seeing the world through clear, calculable lines. But tonight, that clarity felt like a misstep. He hadn't meant to hurt anyone, hadn't even thought his comment in the car was a big deal. Yet Rachel's words "you didn't get it" echoed, forcing him to dig deeper. What had he missed? Staring at the ceiling, Ben retraced the moment. Rachel's question on the drive, boy or girl, had seemed simple, so he'd answered with facts. A 51% chance of a boy, each birth independent, like flipping a coin. To him, it was just data, neutral and true. But Rachel hadn't been asking for a stats lesson. She'd been sharing Tina's hope, her own hope, for a girl to balance out Tina's world of boys. Tina's longing for pink dresses and tea parties wasn't about probability, it was about dreams. Emotions Ben hadn't factored in. He'd seen the disappointment in Tina's eyes when the confetti fell, the way Rachel clung to her friend. They weren't chasing numbers, they were chasing a feeling. Ben's logic had always been his strength, the tool he used to solve problems at work, to keep their finances steady. But tonight, he saw its limits. Rachel didn't need him to be right, she needed him to understand, to share in the emotional weight of the moment. When she'd snapped at him, it wasn't just about the car ride. It was about his detachment at the party, standing by the grill while she and Tina navigated heartbreak. He'd answered her question honestly, but maybe honesty wasn't what she'd been after. Maybe she'd wanted connection, not a lecture. He thought about Tina, too. She'd put on a brave face, but Ben wasn't blind. Her tight smile, her quick glances away, told him she'd been crushed. He hadn't caused the blue confetti, but his matter-of-fact prediction in the car might have set Rachel up for a harder fall. He'd been so focused on being accurate that he hadn't considered how his words landed, how they might have dimmed her hope before the reveal even happened. For someone like Rachel, who felt everything so deeply, that was a bigger deal than he'd realized. Later that night, Ben slipped into their bedroom, where Rachel was reading, her face still guarded. He sat on the edge of the bed, his hands clasped. "Rach, I'm sorry," he said, his voice slow. "I wasn't trying to be insensitive in the car. You asked what I thought, and I just answered with what I knew. The stats, the logic. But I get now that it wasn't the time for that. I should have seen how much this meant to you and Tina." He paused, searching her face. "I didn't mean to make it harder." Rachel set her book down, her eyes softening. "It's not just the stats, Ben. It's that you didn't seem to care. Tina was so hopeful, and when it was a boy, I could see her heart break. I needed you to feel that with me, not just stand there." Her voice cracked, and Ben felt a pang. He reached for her hand. "I do care. I just don't show it the way you do. I'm learning." "Okay. I'll try to get it next time." Rachel squeezed his hand, a small smile breaking through. "I know you're not a robot. Just meet me halfway sometimes." The tension didn't vanish, but it eased, like a knot loosening. They talked a bit more, Rachel explaining how Tina's dreams for a girl had been a lifeline through a tough pregnancy. Ben listened, really listened, letting her words sink in past his usual filters. It wasn't about being right, it was about being there. He'd always thought accuracy was the best way to show he cared, but now he saw that sometimes compassion trumped precision. The lesson stuck with Ben. Not every moment calls for facts. Sometimes, people need you to stand with them, to share their hopes or their hurt, even if it's not logical. He didn't suddenly become Mr. Emotional, but he promised himself to pause next time to check if the question was about data or something deeper. For Rachel, for Tina, for the people he loved, he could do that. So, listener, thanks for writing this out with me. It's not every day a gender reveal teaches you about love and listening. If you were me, would you have leaned on logic or gone with the heart? And when's a time you had to choose between being right and being kind? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop them below. Stay tuned. Life's got more lessons coming.